Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amna Khan. Our presentation topic is climate change and its impact on developing countries, which is presented by me and my group members Amna Siddiqui and Maryam Khan Saeed. Now, moving towards the introduction. In this paragraph, we are discussing about the climate change in 2020. Extreme weather events and climate-related disasters like hurricanes and floods are becoming more frequent due to climate change. These events hit developing countries the hardest, poor communities, women, and children. The damage from these disasters doesn't just affect those directly impacted, it also harms America's security and economy by causing mass displacement and hindering progress in areas like conflict prevention and hunger relief and poverty reduction. The COVID-19 pandemic makes dealing with these challenges even tougher as it strained healthcare system, increased recovery costs from natural disaster. The next slide is the facts. Climate change hits poorer countries the hardest, causing more problems in places that are already struggling. The next slide is conflict. Climate change makes conflict worse. According to the Pentagon, the State Department say it also makes countries more unstable. For example, Al Qaeda has taken advantage of desertification in Northwest Africa to circuit members. Extreme weather is causing conflict and terrorism, leading to 80 million people being forced from their homes. Experts predict that 2050 over 142 million people could be displaced because of fight over food, water, and natural disasters. By 2070, almost a fifth of the earth might too be hard to live on. The next slide is economic development. Climate change threatens and worsens poverty with 100 million people at risk of falling below the poverty line by 2030. Extreme weather causes $520 billion in yearly consumption losses and pushes 26 million people into poverty annually. Rising sea level endanger major port and threaten coastal areas where 300 million people could face dangerous flooding by 2050. Moving towards the next slide, building solution. Investments in development and in diplomacy help countries adapt to the climate change by building resilience. Resilience means community can handle and recover from disaster, conflict, and chronic vulnerability. These investments are crucial for tackling climate changes, security, economic, and humanitarian impacts. That's all for me. Over to my next group member. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amna Siddiqui, and in this paragraph we will discuss about public-private sectors addressing about climate change. Public-private partnerships are crucial for tackling climate change. Many groups including businesses, charities and global organizations like the UN and the World Bank are teaming up with governments to help communities adapt to climate impacts and promote sustainable growth. These are some points. The Green Climate Fund, set up in 2010 by over 190 countries, helps developing nations deal with climate change. It uses public money to attract private investment. So far, it's gathered over $10 billion since 2014 and support projects for reducing emissions and adapting to climate impacts. Now, heading towards our next slide, which is the impact of climate change on trade in developing countries. In this para, we are discussing that experts and policymakers from Africa and South Africa are studying how climate change affects manufacturing and trade in these regions. They are exploring solutions for cleaner technologies, climate finance, and adaptive measures to boost exports, ensure food security, and improve trade competitiveness. Now, coming towards our next slide, which is humans are responsible for global warming. In this para, climate scientists have proven that humans are mainly responsible for the global warming observed over the past 200 years. Activities like emitting greenhouse gases are causing the Earth's temperature to rise faster than in thousands of years. The planet is now about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than in the late 1800s. The last decade was the warmest on record, and each decade since 1850 has been warmer than the last. Climate change involves more than just rising temperatures. It affects everything on Earth because everything is interconnected. Now, moving to the next slide, which is people are experiencing climate change in diverse ways. Climate change affects people in many ways, including health, food production, housing, safety, and employment. Some, like those in small island and developing nations, are more vulnerable. Rising sea levels and droughts are forcing communities to move, and more people will likely be displaced by extreme weather in the future. Now, moving towards the next heading, and in this heading, we are discussing that we have solutions to address climate change that also benefit the economy and environment. Global agreement like the Paris Agreement and Sustainable Development Goals guide our progress. These There are three main actions: reducing emissions, adapting to climate impacts, and financing necessary changes. Transitioning to renewable energy sources like solar and wind will help cut emissions causing climate change. That's it for me. Now over to my next group member.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maryam Khan. I am going to explain my part. The first slide is the effect on climate and energy. Nowadays, climate change becoming a very hot topic that's circulating around the world. Here we find some essential facts that we use and talk about them to build support for urgent action. Now, moving toward the next slide, cause and effects of climate change. The main and the largest reason for global climate change is fossil fuel, oil, and gas. Burning fossil fuel releases greenhouse gas causing global warming and climate change. This disrupts weather patterns and poses risks to human life and warm the planet faster than ever before. Now, the next slide is what is climate finance. Climate finance basically help countries reduce greenhouse gas emission and adapt to climate change. It includes public funding for projects like renewable energy and resilient farming method. Public fund can also attract private investment for projects that benefit the public good like infrastructure improvement. Now, the next slide is understanding climate change attitude in Pakistan. Climate change hits Pakistan hard, causing problems like floods and weather shift. By 2050, GDP may drop 18 to 20%. That could shrink Pakistan economy. Even though Pakistan isn't a big contributor to climate change, it's important to deal with its effects. Pakistan must tackle climate issues like air pollution and smoke. Now, the last heading is conclusion. Climate change critical global issue which increasing global warming. We must act faster to avoid severe consequences. Artificial intelligence and machine learning can be a most powerful tool in this fight. Now, that's all from us. Thank you.